Darragh Fitzgibbon, we're here at it's the launch of year 3 of the first class rivals with Electric Ireland. Just for yourself, your own year with Cork probably just didn't end the way you wanted to against Kilkenny and obviously third place in the Munster Championship. How do you reflect on the year overall?
Yeah, I suppose in general the Munster Championship is just so tough. It's an achievement in itself, I suppose, to get out of Munster, because you see in 2018 Tipperary didn't even get out of Munster. In 2019 they went on to win the All Ireland, but I suppose when we got out of Munster in third position, we felt that we were in a good place, playing the preliminary round against Westmeath and then ready for a quarter final, but it just didn't go right for us in the day. It was a really, really poor performance, and I suppose as players we have to hold ourselves accountable for it really, and I suppose try and improve it in 2020.
Because, early on in the year it didn't start well against Tipperary. I think it was maybe a 9-point loss, I might have that wrong. But then the game against Limerick, it kind of thought, right, Cork are back here. Why did it go so right that day?
I suppose we're just really disappointed in our performance against Tipperary, and I suppose we had an extra motivation after the disappointing loss against Limerick in the All Ireland semi-final in 2018. But I suppose, look, there's nothing really between anyone in Munster. The 5 teams in Munster, all their goal every year is to win the All Ireland. So look, when you're going in, you can easily win as you can easily lose. It's just a hop of a ball really that can change the whole championship for you.
Because just from an outsider, it just seems like Cork have pretty much all the class you need. You've all the scores you want. There's obviously just something not quite clicking, but do you feel like you are quite close?
Yeah, I suppose we've won 2 Munster Championships in 2017 and 18, and we played in 2 semi-finals, All Ireland semi-finals in 17 and 18 as well. But I suppose like any other team really, we're not that far away. But I suppose we need to look at ourselves really and see what we can do and try and change for 2020 to get those extra margins to get over the line.
And when you put up, was it 140 I think against Westmeath, did you think, right, okay, this is a sign now that we're coming into the Kilkenny game in good fettle?
Yeah, we felt we had the perfect preparation going in for the Kilkenny game, and it just didn't go our way in the day. Kilkenny were top class, and I suppose they showed that as well, that they're in their performance against Limerick the following day. But look, we're just ready to get back and get going again for 2020.
I spoke with Gerard Cunningham, who's obviously involved now for the new year, and I was asking him a little bit about the whole thing about Steele being questioned, that maybe the last 20 minutes Kilkenny really pulled away from me as well. Is that something that you could even zero in on? How do you identify where that issue lies?
Yeah, I suppose we've kind of been questioned, I suppose, about our work rate and our steel. I suppose there's no real question marks over the talent we have in the group, but I suppose it's something that we have to look to in 2020. That because they're kind of questions that after a game, if you can hold your hand up and say that you put everything into it and you lost, well then that's fair enough. But I suppose some of the losses that we've experienced over the years have been like that our performance wasn't up to scratch to get over the line. So there are things that we have to look into in 2020.
I was just looking up online there, and I came across that photograph of you and your cousin Richie English, who plays for Limerick, and that photograph of you celebrating a point in the 2018 semi-final. Now, would you be close cousins? Would you chat that often? How did that even come about?
Yeah, look, sure. Obviously we're first cousins and we'd be close enough, but outside of the field we're close enough, I suppose. But I don't know, it's just heat at the moment kind of thing. He wasn't long letting me know after we lost the semi-final about the proper results. So yeah, I suppose, look, I live close to the border down below in Charleville anyway, and there was good rivalry between all my family because we have a lot of family in Limerick as well. And look, last year he let me know that they were All Ireland champions anyway.
Well, you had to sow it in, he was dead right too. So what about the new management? Well, first of all, we'll talk about the outgoing management in John Myler there for the past couple of years, and of course Kieran Kingston was there beforehand, who you had as well. First of all, just John Myler and the work he did there. It didn't quite happen for a finish, but last year you weren't that far away.
Yeah, I suppose initially it was kind of a bit of a surprise that he stepped down, I suppose, for the players, because I suppose the way 2019 ended was really disappointing. We got close enough in 2018, and we felt that we could have built on it and made a push for an All Ireland, but it just didn't go our way in 2019. But I suppose it was kind of more on the players of what happened. The management can't control what happens when we go over the line, and I suppose we have to hold our hands up as players. That it just didn't go right in 2019.
What involvement would Dougie Howlett have had to you on a day-to-day basis of training?
Doug was in he was a performance coach, kind of just he was over the kind of the mindset of the players. I suppose it was unbelievable to get an experience of what Doug brought to us. He was the all-time leading try scorer for the All Blacks. Just a legend around Munster and a legend in New Zealand and Ireland, and to be able to tap into what he experienced throughout his career and offer to us what he could, it was just amazing for him to be involved with us. Yeah.
When you got the word that Kieran Kingston was coming back for the new season and Darragh O'Sullivan with him and Ger Cunningham was been added to the ticket, were you happy when that was announced?
Yes, well, we were delighted. I suppose on a personal level, Kieran, through me, Mark, Luke, Shane and Colm Spillane in the deep end when he was over in 2017. So as I suppose we were just happy that he's back. He has an unbelievable belief in us. I suppose that's why he got back involved, to try and bring out the best in us that he thinks that we can achieve.
Is he quite different to John Myler?
No, it's very similar, I suppose. John would have been in Kieran's backroom team in 2017, so it was just kind of a continuation on from what Kieran brought. No, they would have been very similar, yeah.
And then, the way, like you mentioned, that the 5 young players thrown in and everyone was, the whole kind of cliche about Cork players are like mushrooms, they grow overnight and all this. And then everyone kind of expects, after the first season you had, which in general you all played really, really well, is the expectation quite heavy on your shoulders to just continue doing that even though you're a young player?
Yeah, sure, there's always expectation in Cork. If you don't win All Ireland, it's a failed season in Cork, really. I suppose when your career is over, you're going to be judged in Cork and how many All Irelands you win, so there's always a huge expectation. And I suppose through minor, under 21 and senior so far, we haven't won any All Ireland, so we still have a good bit of work to do.
And how do you feel like your own kind of development has come along? Like, you were centre forward at times last year. I'm sure you've played loads of different positions over the years, but do you care where you're playing necessarily? Do you think some places suit you more than others? Because I can see why you play centre forward, come short and then use your pace.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to play anywhere. I all growing up, I would have been playing midfielder anywhere in the half-forward line. So it's kind of a tactic we used maybe last year, maybe switch me in and out between midfielders from the forward. But I don't really mind where you're playing. When you're playing on Cork Senior Hurling, you don't really care where you are.
And how old? I suppose you were only about 7 when Cork won the All Ireland last. Were you there? Do you remember?
It was in 2005. I would have been 8. Yeah. I was at a chat with my father.
Do you remember it?
I do. Yeah, I remember it. It was against Galway. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. And who would have been your heroes growing up?
I suppose Ben and Jerry O'Connor would have lived local to us in the next parish in Newtown, and to everyone around in our area, they were just our heroes. Like, they did everything from club to county. They've won everything, All Stars, Hurlers of the Years, everything. And I suppose I worked with Ben for the last 3 years at my club in Charleville, and it was just unbelievable to have him as our coach. I suppose when he was your idol growing up, and then to be able to learn off him on the training field every day was unreal.
And also, I suppose you won a Munster intermediate title with him last year also. In some ways, there's certain similarities between you and Ben. Is that something that he would have talked to you about, trying to advise you on your game because there are certain similarities?
Yeah, I suppose. He didn't really advise anything, and he just kind of concentrated on what we did with Charleville, I suppose. Look, he knows he would have been through it all. He just let me do my thing with Cork, and then when I came back training with Charleville and playing matches with Charleville, and we just started working with each other. But we had unbelievable success with Ben. We got the whole way to Croke Park for an All Ireland final, and it didn't go right in the day. But we look back in the 4 years with great pride, I suppose.
Do you think Patrick Horgan can actually even get better? Because his form in the last couple of years is insane.
Yeah, he probably can, but I suppose it's because of the work he puts in. He's always the first out in the field before training. He's definitely the last leaving. So I suppose the work he's put in over the last 5 or 6 years, you can see the rewards he has. He's won, what is it, 3 All-Stars in a row or something, and that's unbelievable, I suppose. But as a team in general, he was probably the only player that played up to his potential all year last year. So it's just up to the rest of us to get up to his level.
And it's very hard to put your finger on why other lads aren't. I'm sure it's certainly down to no lack of effort.
Not, I suppose, like any other county team, we're training 3-4 nights a week. No one goes out to play a bad game. It just hasn't gone right for us in 2019, and we're doing everything we can to get back for in 2020.
Thanks very much, Darragh. Best of luck.
Thanks very much.